There's a great article in Vice detailing how it's now been scientifically proven that weed makes food smell and taste better. For people who smoke weed on a regular basis and they're listening to this right now, they're like, why did I even click on this? Why am I listening to this? Did they do that study at the University of No Shit? Let me give you some details. They say, quote, a study published in Nature Neuroscience found that the brain's cannabinoid receptors promote food intake in mice by increasing odor detection. Now, this, of course, is on top of the thousands, if not millions, of anecdotal examples where people say, yes, I got very fucking hungry and I ate everything in sight when I was high. So they say that the THC fits into the brain's olfactory receptors and it heightens taste and smell. And this, of course, comes as no surprise also because of chemo patients. I mean, I know somebody, I went to college with somebody whose mother had cancer. She beat it, but only we would allow her to eat and hold it down. Nothing else would allow her to eat and actually keep it down. And chemo patients, so many chemo patients have said that it's because of marijuana that they're not becoming super-de-duper rail-thin and dying of starvation because they couldn't keep anything down while having the chemo unless they smoke weed. So Vice also talks about a woman who used to cook weed brownies in San Francisco. This is really interesting. During the AIDS epidemic for patients who were rapidly losing weight and had no appetite. And it worked. Plain and simple. So when HIV becomes AIDS and it really gets into the final stages, there's this degenerative thing that happens. And it's really scary to see. I'm sure you've seen clips of it and whatnot where, you know, they have these markings on their body and they just get really, really skinny. And you could tell that they're starving and they can't eat. They can't eat. Now, I don't know. Is that because their immune system is shot from the AIDS? Is that for other reasons? But for whatever reason, the medicine, I don't know. But they can't eat. They can't hold it down unless they smoke weed. Now, is it 100% across the board? I'm not sure, but in many cases it was successful. And because this woman did this fantastic work where she's doing charity and giving people medication that they need, she was arrested 3 times. How many times have we heard this story before? Somebody doing something good, but if it's related to drugs in any way, shape, or form, go to jail right now. Now, another area Vice gets into is there are researchers in America who knew this reality that marijuana helps people eat when they can eat, it helps them hold it down, and it heightens sensory perception and pleasure. And that's why a lot of people say when you have sex on weed, it feels fucking fantastic. So they knew this, and they were going to study it in the USA. And what happened? The government body responsible for allocating marijuana to be legally studied refused to give it because they only wanted to give weed out to people who did studies of it in a negative fashion. I mean, this is a scandal of all scandals about corrupting scientific thought and biasing a situation in favor of what you want the outcome to be, which is, of course, they want to keep the war on drugs going because a lot of people's jobs depend on it, and they've been doing it for so long. So it's a fucked up thing, man, that we still haven't gotten to the point where we accept that there are so many medicinal uses for marijuana. But I mean, look, the aspect to this that I kept thinking about as I was reading it was, I mean, drugs in general have positive reactions with most people. Don't get me wrong, I get it, that there's some percentage of the population, they really have addictive personalities and they can't help it and they'll destroy themselves if they take certain substances. But I believe in the research of the expert, the Dr. Carl Hart, who said, hey, only 10%, 20% max of people can't handle drugs. Everybody else could handle pretty much any drug. So there are people who recreationally use cocaine, recreationally use heroin, recreationally use weed, LSD, other psychedelics, you name it. People do it. Okay? And I know from personal experience, I had a bunch of pills left over after I got my wisdom teeth pulled out. And the dentist, I should say, gave me the good stuff because he knew my father. So he gave me a script for, like, way more Vicodin, or I actually think it was Percocet, which is stronger, than I needed. And he was kind of like a wink and a nod, like, go ahead, buddy. Do your thing. So I remember when I took them recreationally and had some fun, went out with my buddies and whatnot, the reaction I had on that was the same as the reaction they're describing in this story about weed. How I was like, oh my God, I want to eat like everything, bro. Let's get some cookie dough ice cream. Let's get some Cheetos. I want a Philly cheesesteak and a double cheeseburger, and I want to get a chicken sandwich and then get some pizza, Sicilian preferably, but actually let me get some sausage pizza also. Pause, that sounds kind of gay. But you know what I'm talking about, bro. I just want to eat. Like, let's just eat, and I just feel so good. Oh, this is awesome. So, what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story, as you've heard me say time and time again, is that do not buy into the insane reefer madness mentality that you hear everywhere else, where they say drugs are bad, drugs are always bad, you need to be puritanical, you need to never do drugs, you need to never do substances. Nonsense! Recreationally used as long as you know you can handle it and you don't go overboard. There's nothing wrong with recreational drug use. Every society ever has done recreational drug use, and the people who do it are happier than the people who don't do it, and they have many positive effects. Let's stop pretending like drugs, including weed and other ones, that they don't do anything good. They do many, many, many things that are good.